Hello and welcome to week 2 of English 102. We are continuing our exploration into fiction this week. And in week 2, we're looking at how character impacts a story, and we're also going to look at some MLA formatting, which is the style that we will be using for writing during this course. So this looks very familiar to week 1, and if you had taken English 101 here at Georgia Military College, this is still the similar format. There are some readings for the week, and then there are a number of activities. So I just want to kind of go over a couple little things with you so that you have some familiarity with it and are able to move smoothly through week 2. So each week has this overview, and it kind of gives just like a little information for you as you're going through. We're reading 3 different short stories, and these short stories are really good for focusing in on individual characters. So Miss Brill, A Rose for Emily, which kind of goes through continuing with some of our creepiness that we started with the stories in week 1. If you are not familiar with the story, I think that you will find it very creepy, to say the least. And then Young Goodman Brown. So these might be some authors that you're familiar with anything that you have taken in other English classes. So, okay. Let me close this page and then get back to our week 2. So that just kind of sets the stage for the rest of this week. And then our objectives are recognizing basic elements of literary fiction. You are going to compose a short paper this week, and then also focusing in on MLA formatting. So let's go through a couple of these. So you have the files to read these stories. Each of them are here. And then each week, if you haven't noticed yet, there are several resources I have in here for you. And it just really enhances your reading. When you read a story, you want to think about that you're going to read it usually more than one time. When we're talking about actually analyzing and thinking about it. So starting earlier in the week, some students do a little bit differently. I tend to kind of look at the whole week of all the different things that are going to come up if I were a student. So that might be something that you want to do. Is like, you have these stories. Here are some of the different resources, and then going back and forth. So sometimes students would want to start with the overview. There's an overview of each of these stories, and then going back and reading it, or reading it and then going back. But either way, you want to be able to do that. And I encourage you to read these stories. We pick short ones for a reason, so that you can read them 2 or 3 times. And then as you start writing about them, you're going to find yourself like, okay, I need to go back and find where was that one line that I remember. Okay. So it's diving in deep. We have shorter stories so that you're spending more time with them and really looking at the different objectives each week. And again, this week is really looking at those well-developed characters that are in each of this week's selection. Okay, so you have that additional support for the selections themselves. And then this is an important resource about writing a response paper, because we have that. So this will be your first written response paper of the course. And then also a how-to guide for MLA formatting. So if you've done all of these things for week 2, then before you jump into the actual assignments themselves, then you have a little bit of background, and that's one of the reasons that we have this initial post due on Wednesday each week for most of the weeks, because that way you get started a little bit earlier and get more involved in the activities that we're doing this week. So for the discussion forum for week 2, you are going to look at the different prompts that are here. Now, there are 4 different things. And the first week's discussion board, some of you tried to tackle every prompt. I'm not going to take off for that specifically, but there are reasons there are different choices, because there are several different stories, and some stories speak to students more than others, and that I want you to feel something, I want you to write about something you feel comfortable about writing about. So I want you to only pick one of these prompts, and then also it really gives you a chance to dive in deeper about what this prompt is asking you to do. Okay, so a good rule of thumb, if you haven't done it before, is I would have like a Word document open before I would even get to the discussion post as I'm looking at these. So then my post is actually going to be written on the Word document, and then it's ready to copy over into the discussion forum. And I do that for several reasons, because it has the spelling, you can get your format all set. The discussion forum still won't have like perfect MLA formatting as far as you know, the spacing and all of that. It'll always look a little bit wonky, but having the citation as part of the quotations that you use, and then also having that works cited entry then included in your post, so that we get into the habit of using that kind of format. So just to remind you that you only are going to choose one of these prompts for week 2. So let me go back to the other assignments in week 2. So we have that, and then you're going to jump back in there and keep that dialogue going. I post something each week, and then I'll be commenting to the other post. So it's just kind of like a nice little back and forth. So that's one of the requirements, is that you are active on at least 2 different days, and that you are responding to 2 other posts. It could be something I've written or something that your classmates have written. Okay, so then our practice quiz this week is going to be all about MLA formatting. So that's why you wanted to look at that resource before doing that. This is not a graded quiz, but just to kind of get you thinking about some of the things that you need to either learn or refresh yourself about MLA formatting. And then, let's go back here. We have this practice quiz. Oops. I'm so sorry, that's jumped in there. So you have, oh my goodness, you have the discussion forum, then you have the practice quiz, and then you have the skill building activity that goes along with that practice quiz. So you are going to write a paragraph about anything that you liked or didn't like from any of the characters in week 2. So in practicing what we're going to be doing for the longer essay in week 7, where we have direct quotations, and you use a signal phrase, and you paraphrase some of the sources that you use for your longer essay. So think of this as like a practice one. So you want to have already read that MLA resource, you've already taken the practice quiz, and then you're able to write something that has a direct quote from the story that you've chosen, only up to 3 full lines. And then you have a signal phrase that's introducing that quote, because it's a little jarring if you just throw a quote in there when you're writing something, but you want to say, why is this important? Because you're saying that you like or don't like a character, so you're going to use that signal phrase to signal to the reader there's a quote coming up that's going to explain why I really, really liked Miss Brill. And then you're also going to paraphrase. So anytime that you direct quote or paraphrase, of course, those have to be properly cited using MLA formatting. All right, so that is that activity. And then on to your essay. Of course, in week 2, we have this resource in here that kind of gives you the information about how to set up this response paper. Okay, so let's look at that assignment. This will be done as a Word document, and it'll be uploaded to this little forum here. So again, you are going to just choose one of these prompts, because you cannot write a short essay writing about all of these different things, because you'll feel yourself thinking, this is a lot to cover in a short amount of time. And that's why I don't want you to do that. I want you to pick one of these and really expand on your response to this prompt, using what you've read, using the, because you're starting to really analyze what this literature means, in the format of these prompts. Okay. So you're just going to select one of those. Of course, this is MLA, and this is going to be 800 to 1,000 words. And sometimes people think that that sounds like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. But I consider like 100 to 150 words is a good paragraph. So this is going to be about a good 2-page paper. Okay, so then just make sure that you're following all of the structure guidelines. And of course, this is due at the end of week 2. And let's just go back. Is there anything that I forgot on week 2? Oh, then each Thursday, all of the grades are updated. So once we get to the Thursday of the following week, you'll be able to get in and see any feedback that I've given you. In particular, as you're getting used to writing in the discussion boards, you want to make sure that you're hitting all of those points. So read back my feedback. I'll tell you if you missed anything, if I took any points off and why. And then that'll happen for the response papers as well. There'll be information in there. And in our I'll show this to you real quick. In this part here, news and announcements, there'll be information on how to check your feedback on the assignments. So that's all I have for you for this week 2, and looking forward to working with each of you this week. I'll see you in class.